we would sell like crazy all day to sell as much as we could so we didn't have to put it back on the van at the end of the day. I didn't sit down until 10 o'clock at night. So the marriage fell apart because I wasn't around all the time. You know, the wife ran off with a plumber, literally, yeah. And I paid my £1,865 for a 3-day event. And then I parted with another £16,000 after that. And people will go, wow, that's a deposit on a house. You're absolutely crazy. The knowledge that was given allowed me to buy many houses and to become totally financially secure, independent, free, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Hi, James. Hi, Mark. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Caroline and Mark. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic here. Thank you very much.
We're very, very excited this week because we have managed to secure and nail down our very own rich dad.
Yes.
The guest we have on this week is the reason that James and I are here and in the property business. And he was the man that basically dragged us over the line from thinking like a 99%er to that 1%. So we feel very, very excited and privileged to have Mr. Mark Dalton with us today.
And Caroline, James, it's an honour to be here. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, 12 years ago in a room down in Gatwick Airport, you inspired me to take my first steps in the property investment world. So it's great to have you on the podcast, and it's been amazing to have stuck close to you for the last 12 years as well.
Yeah, and we've become great friends. Yeah,
that's it. It has. So you're a proper rich dad to us, and we'll be forever grateful to you. So it'd be brilliant for everyone to hear how you got to where you are right now. I guess right at the beginning, way back in a former life. What were you doing?
Way back in the former life.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's, it is an interesting story. Because I'm sure that there's plenty of people that are just like me out there today that were skint, not earning enough money, probably in debt. Yeah, I was £80,000 in debt. I was a street trader, selling cakes, biscuits and sweets on the back streets of northwest London and Hertfordshire and Bedfordshire. And it was a good life. But it was hard work, and I realised that if I didn't do something quickly, this was in my late 30s, early 40s, then I was going to be poor in my old age. You know, a typical day to me was getting up around about 4 a.m, getting down to a market stall around about 5:30, setting the stall up, through till about 9 o'clock in the morning. We would sell like crazy all day to sell as much as we could so we didn't have to put it back on the van at the end of the day. There was no tea breaks, coffee breaks or anything like that. It was just hard work. And even at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the day wasn't over. We still had to put the stuff back on the van. We had to drive back home to Luton, where I'm based. And I didn't get in till 8 o'clock at night. So leaving the house around about 4:30 in the morning, not getting back till 8 o'clock at night. And then when I came in at 8 o'clock at night, my youngest boy, and I'm looking over there because, it was there where all this was happening. My youngest boy, who's now 38, right, was saying, Dad, Dad, Dad. And I would just say in a minute, in a minute, in a minute. Right. But even as the day is, I'm back in the house, I still, but even when the money was counted, I still had to go back out and reload the vans. And because of that, I didn't sit down until 10 o'clock at night. And then it was watch the news, watch the weather, and then off to bed and repeat. And I did that 6 days a week for the best part of 16, 17 years. So absolutely.
I'm just thinking about it.
I know, I'm exhausted hearing it.
Absolutely crazy world, and because of that, the marriage fell apart because I wasn't around all the time. The wife ran off with a plumber, literally, yeah. Right. I can laugh about it. I can laugh about it now because, we're best friends. And actually, it's probably one of the best things that she ever did, right? Because it wouldn't have forced me into, well, not forced me, it didn't force me into anything. When I think about it, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make money. I wanted to be secure in my old age. And I'm sure a lot of the people watching, right, will be saying to themselves, I want security. You know, I don't want to have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to keep food on the table, just to keep the house warm. and because of all of that, right, it was way back in, it was May 2000, and Elaine and I, right, were arguing in the room over here, and we were arguing about, guess what? Money. Yeah. And this chappie came on the Oprah Winfrey show. Why was I even at home that day? Why was I even home that day? I don't know. Right? I really don't know. But synchronicity jumps into your life, right, at certain times. And this chap came on called Robert Kiyosaki, you know, and I've got the book there behind me, Rich Dad. And he just said 3 words: income generating assets. Bang. The light went on, and that was me on a mission from that moment in time. Instead of me working to earn a living, the assets were going to earn me a living. And that's what I took away from that first interview, right? But I went straight upstairs, and it was dial-up broadband in those days, AOL.
It wasn't even broadband.
Well, it wasn't even broadband. It was wind up, yeah. And I went straight on to Amazon, right? And I ordered the book. At the same time, it said, if you buy this book, why not buy this other book? And it was a book called Building Wealth by a chap called Russ Whitney. And I can't tell you what to do, guys, but both of those books inspired me to take control of my life and focus on buying income generating assets. Yeah. And it was 2 years before I could do anything. There was no support networks like this. There was no online things that you could do. You were literally on your own. Yeah. And then way back in 2002, a little leaflet came through my door: attend a Russ Whitney seminar. And that was, I went to that, and I paid my £1,865 for a 3-day event. And then I parted with another £16,000 after that. And people at the time were saying to me, wow, that's a deposit on a house. You're absolutely crazy. Yeah. Yeah. It was one deposit on one house. The knowledge that was given allowed me to buy many houses and to become totally financially secure, independent, free, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 80 grand in debt already. Kind of, where did the money come from for you to pay for those trainings?
Where did the money come from? Right. Initially, to buy the initial training, that was the credit card, you know, the £1,865. And it was one of those things of, please go through. Yeah, please go through.
Don't let it bounce. You mean it wasn't a check? It wasn't a check, Mark, in those days?
No, it wasn't a check. It was the credit card. Yeah, right. And lo and behold, on the night when I was doing the advanced training, the Saturday night of the advanced training, they were asking for £16,000. I knew I was going to do it. I just didn't have the money at that moment in time. And I did what most people should do. You know, I just went to the pub, got a beer. And at the time, my hand was shaking because I knew I was at a moment in my life that if I don't step up and make this work, then I've got to go back and accept my life and potentially be poor in the rest of my life, you know, particularly in my golden years, which just terrified me because I saw poverty on the markets in such a way. And on that night, working with a couple of other students that had come through, just looking for ideas. There was a mortgage broker in the group. Wasn't working for the company or anything like that. He was a student as well, and he reckoned I could get £26,000 out of my house. Yeah, okay, that's all well and good, but at that moment in time, I was in conflict with my ex. And if I said something was black, she would say it was white. Yeah. So it was, you know, and I had to phone her on that Saturday night and say, please, please do that. I phoned her crying. Please, please, we need to do this. Allow me to do it. And she did agree. And because she did agree, that's why I still look after her. And that's why we've still got a great relationship going today. And she runs the majority of the portfolio nowadays. Yeah. So then I had to, where can I find £16,000 overnight? And I phoned up one of my suppliers, a chap called Barry Lewis up in Birmingham, who sold me, the cakes, biscuits and sweets for the market stalls. And I said, Barry, I need £16,000 for the trading. And he'd go, oh, Mark, are you sure you're not being scammed, turned over, blah, 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 blah. Yep. Yeah. And the interesting bit is the moment I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, I started telling everybody what the plan was. Yeah. And in hindsight, right, that was one of the big winning things of what I've done. The fact that I told everybody what the plan was, because when I spoke to Barry and I said, look, I need some money for training. Would you bankroll me? I didn't say it like that. Yeah. Right. But he went, oh, Mark, are you sure? And he was being protective of me because he was my friend. Yeah.
But it was expected. It wasn't a shot out of the blue. It was kind of semi-expected. He knew what you were doing. It wasn't.
He knew what I was doing, so it wasn't a shock when I phoned him. And this is 9 o'clock on a Saturday night, yeah, on Gloucester Road Tube Station in London. And he said, "Okay, how are you going to pay me back, Mark?" I said, "Well, I've just been speaking with the broker, and he can get me the best part of £26,000 out of the house. 16 will go on the training, 10 will go into me investment pot as such." And he says, "Well, what happens if you can't refinance your house?" I said, "Barry, I have been buying from you for the last 12 years or more. Even if it took me to my last dying breath, I'll make sure you get your money back." And at that moment in time, he said, "When do you want the money?" And I said, "Tomorrow morning." He said, "Phone me before church." Yeah. Right. And that's how I started. Yeah. And people know me for creative finance and raising money and showing people how to raise money. Right. But it all boils down to one word. How much do you want it? Desire.
Yeah, that hunger in the belly, we're always talking about that. If someone is hungry enough, and it's not about being desperate. And I think sometimes people think, oh, your back was up against the wall and you only did it because you were really, really desperate. Actually, we have people that are really financially quite comfortable, but they have that fire in the belly. They get
want more.
Yeah, but right. I mean, in today's world, I work with people that are in some very, very high paid corporate jobs, and the trouble is they've got handcuffs on, right? And they've not got the freedom, the choices. They've got to have their time off when they're told to have their time off. Yeah. They're told how much they're going to be paid. Yeah. Right.
And it'll take so much more money for them to be able to walk away from that job because they're earning well.
So you've been actively investing in property since 2002 to today. I think our listeners would be really fascinated to hear what, one of the biggest fears they have is the change in the market. When's the best time to buy? And all of these questions that come up. You've been in it for such a long time. What have you witnessed that can give our listeners some kind of comfort in now being a good time when the world's as crazy as it is?
The formula is quite simple. Buy an income generating asset. If it works today, for me, the basic model is we buy a property that's distressed. We force that appreciation, make it worth more. There's one of the ticks, right? And at the same time, when we refinance at a higher value, it's still cash flows, right? And that's the core, the fundamental part of it, right? And if you stick to that rule and it cash flows today, even if the market dropped 10, 15, 25% as it did in 2008, the fact that the properties are cash flowing is the bit that saves you. Where people get it wrong is they go into speculation. They go into, let me buy something, let me turn it into 15 flats and all this type of stuff, right? They're very, very heavily borrowed. The market turns against them. And because the market turns against them, that's where they go wrong. Yeah. They're always carrying that risk of the market turning against them. Whereas income investors, I class myself as an investor, right? Whereas I see development more of a speculation. Yeah. I buy houses, I'm buying them for the cash flow. Yeah, that's it, full stop. And, you know, go back to 2008, if I hadn't have been trained that way, right, because I saw lots of people out there, right, doing the big developments, doing this, doing that, and people were saying, Mark, you know, why are you doing those, you know, those properties in the back streets of Luton, Stevenage, Blackpool, you know, they're just rubbish. You want to be developing, Well, 2008 hit, and they lost everything, and I mean lost everything.
Yeah.
Kids were at schools, right? But that's to me speculation, the development side of it. So, you know, for those that want safe, look at it, what the value is today. Yeah, right. And as long as it works, ask yourself, what will it be worth to you over 5 years, over 10 years?
Yeah.
Over 20 years. Yeah.
Is that just the value increasing, or is that the income that it's going to be generating, and what's it going to actually put in your pocket over that time frame?
Income and what's going to happen to the values. Yeah. You know, and I mean those but the bit that I really missed and I didn't take on board until I was a bit further down the road, I should have planned 30 or 40 years. Yeah. Because why would you sell a box that's pumping out money every single month? Yeah, why would you sell one? Yeah, unless it's for some form of asset protection, or, you know, passing money down through the family in some way, shape, or form. And people talk to me about the market. People talk to me about them. I love it, right? And all I just say is, look, buy for cash flow, right? And ask yourself, what would it be worth in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time? And that way you'll see the true value of what you've got. Yeah. And cash flow is the thing that's going to protect you. You know, ask any business what's more important, profit or cash flow, and they'll all tell you cash flow. And as long as you've got a well-managed portfolio, right, where your tenants are paying, your occupancy levels absolutely virtually on 100%, right, the cash flow will keep coming in. Yeah, so that's the big one. I mean, to me, the market being up, the market being down, you know, I like to say it's whether when the market's going up, absolutely brilliant, because my capital values are going up. When the market's going down, it means I can buy more cash flow for less price, right? And when the market's going sideways, happy days anyway.
Just keep doing what you're doing.
Just keep doing. The question here is, right, more than anything else, right, is that if I lost my main income stream today, yeah, if I lost my main income stream, how long could I survive? Is it in days? Is it in months? Is it in years? Right. And that's what opened my eyes to, I'm going to be a real basket case if I don't do something now.
So if we have any listeners who are just thinking about getting started and they're worried about not having enough money, about the timing of the market, about cost of living crisis and all of that going on there, what's the advice that you would give them today?
Make the decision that you're going to do it and don't stop till you get there. You can go from absolutely zero in this country right to the very top, right? And as long as you've got that desire and you're not prepared to quit. Yeah, even when times get tough.
And when you were saying sort of do the basics well, what are your, because a lot of people are looking at fancier strategies, bigger things to get started, to give them the income. What do you do in property, Mark?
My strategy is the buy-to-lets for income. I do that up in around, well, all the buy-to-lets that I've got are all for income. Yeah. But again, a good little, because I had the right mentor at the right time, I made some money on a flip, but it wasn't my skill that made the money there. It was the market that worked in my favor. The market went up, and my mentor at the time said, flip that and put that money down in London. And I bought a flat down in London. So then I've got an income strategy and a capital strategy working at the same time. And I just carried on that. So for income, on the baby buy-to-lets up in around the northwest, I do houses of multiple occupation, HMOs here in Luton, Nova in Stevenage, right, which was income to start off with, but we've had the big uplifts in capital appreciation, bigger uplifts than I anticipated, to be honest. Yeah. But also the rents have increased as well, quite significantly. And I've got stuff in London. Look, we've got stuff as a family all over the country. I wouldn't recommend people to be like that, because that's what happens. You lose your hair, it will go silver. But I would definitely focus on anybody starting out. I would definitely focus on income. And then try and buy a property, not for the income initially, but for the potential capital appreciation down south, and then you get in the best of both worlds. One thing that saved me loads of time, again, my mentor said to me, Mark, stop trying to do quirky. Yeah, just focus on your 2-3 bedroom houses. That will work. Yeah, right. You might have to work hard at it, right? But quirky will sap your time and energy. So just focus. So my focus up in Blackpool is 2 and 3 bedroom houses. My focus down here in Luton and Stevenage is 3 bedroom houses that we could turn into 5 rooms. You know, I'm going to say we're doing something else slightly different now, is that we're just buying for capital, long-term capital for the family. And we're just buying cluster houses up by the airport. Yeah, right. Massive demand, right? And low maintenance houses, and yeah, cash flow like crazy.
And if people are feeling a bit paralyzed right now and a bit freaked out about cost of living and everything feeling out of control, I always revert to taking action. And you saying just viewing houses.
Well, I've got the phrase that I picked up from Dale Carnegie, and I have to use this on people all the time, and say to them, get this written down, say it to yourself over and over again. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. If you do nothing, you just get more fearful. Yeah, right. Action breeds confidence and courage. Because you're doing something, you feel in control. Yeah. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. Go out and get busy. Do something.
Brilliant. I think that's a brilliant note for us to end on. Do something. And it's been a pleasure recapping your story. James and I have heard it many times, but it never goes old. No, it doesn't at all. And it's always inspiring every time you hear it. Yeah, and
because that's all I try to do nowadays is inspire people. Yeah. There's nothing better than seeing you guys doing what you're doing out there. You know, you're passing the torch down. Somebody passed it to me. You've got hold of it right now, and you're passing it down to other people, and other people are going to be interviewing you in many years to come. Yeah.
There we are. Love it. So you're very people that are working with you continue, I know, to really get fantastic results. The people that you coach, I know you're very selective about who you work with, and they have to make the grade to spend time in your space. So they're very, very fortunate. And of course, people can find you on LinkedIn and in our Facebook community.
Any other social platforms.
Just don't Google you, Mark?
Yeah. So don't Google Mark Dalton XXX. Now everybody's going up and Googling it. Yeah. Right.
He's very, very famous.
But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, that's really where I am. I'm out there. You know, I don't promote too much, although people will say, oh, Mark, you do. Right. But I'm not promoting, I'm trying to give value to people.
Yeah, and you do that in spades. So
brilliant. Thanks so much for spending your morning with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
See you again.
Cheerio.